Welcome back to another course vlog at my home track Shaughnessy in Vancouver. Today we're playing the first tee time of the day, and we're playing from the tips at over 7,000 yards. It's a tough course from here. It's hosted national opens on the PGA Tour, most recently the Canadian Open in 2011. We had our club championship over the weekend when greens were running at over 13 on the stimpmeter. Today they're still running a good 11.5, and this is a tough test of golf. This opening hole is played as a par 4 on the PGA Tour, but as a par 5 for members. I have about 250 in here, and I know that my 4-wood will stop short of the greenside bunkers. The miss to this pin is definitely short, so I'm okay with this chip. Then I watch my partner Matthew leave his putt short, and ram mine above the hole, so I'll have a downhiller after all, but fortunately I make it. Most holes at Shaughnessy favor a draw off the tee, but it's really a second shot golf course. On this approach, I want no part of going after this pin that's tucked on the left, so my target is past the pin, middle of the green. But unfortunately, I push it straight into the bunker. I've bladed a few out of bunkers, and today I'm a bit tentative and miss it short. I stand over this 25-footer hoping for a 2-putt, and will take the bomb as a bonus. The third green is tough to hit and hold, and I put a good strike on this hybrid, but it goes through the green. This is a very tricky putt, and I pick a spot to die it well above the hole, and miss my target a bit low. I'll leave myself with a makeable uphiller for par, and I knock it in. The fourth hole plays as stroke hole 1 on the card, and requires a draw off the tee and for the approach shot. My approach here looked good, but it actually ran through the back of the green and above the hole. I end up hitting my best chip of the day to tap in distance, and I'm thrilled with par on this hole. This short par 5 also plays as a par 4 on tour. It's tricky from the back tees, which seem to point you straight into the left trees. I try to align up the right to hit a draw, but my alignment's just too far off and I end up smother hooking it. That leads to me having to hit 4-wood even to lay up on this short par 5. I'll have about 100 yards in. I end up leaving it a bit short, and I'll putt from the fringe short of the green. I putt the first one past the hole and miss the comebacker. And of all the holes to give up strokes to, the short par 5 isn't really one of them. There are par 4s coming up that are longer than this hole. The par 4 6th plays a full 100 yards longer from the blacks than the whites. And after hitting a great drive here, I still have 180 yards in. I want no part of going after this flag. Anything on the green is good. This long lag putt is a tester. I hit it really well, and am thrilled to have a fairway in regulation, green in regulation, 2-putt par. On the par 5 7th, I hit another lousy smother hook off the tee. So for the second time in as many par 5s, I'm laying up with the 4-wood, and not even to within 150 yards. This is a tough green to hit and hold, and the miss is short, but this one finds a particularly tough spot for this pin. I'm aiming this chip way out to the right, and I more or less get my target, but the ball still rolls out quite a bit. So this is my par putt that I pull just a hair, and will make another bogey on a par 5. The par 3 8th features a tough green approaching from any distance, let alone 200 with a hybrid. I aim it short right and actually manage to hit my mark. I do not take this 7-footer for granted and make sure to go through my entire routine before stepping over it and putting a stroke on it. It's a good one, and we make our first birdie of the day. On the 9th hole, I don't get all of my tee shot, and playing uphill, it barely makes its way to the fairway. I have about 220 in and give the 4-wood a whack, but I hit it skinny and bad. With this uphill chip into a back pin, I can get nice and aggressive, and do get it to about 7 feet. But this is a putt I should be defensive with. It's a side hill slider, and instead I get a bit frisky, trying to make the par. I make the 3-footer coming back, but this isn't a place where I should have brought 3-putt into play. I didn't play my best on the front, but my misses were green high, and I scrambled very well. I'm happy to be 2 over through the front. Playing from the tips obviously presents its set of challenges, and on the long par 4 10th, even my best drive leaves me with a hybrid in. I'm really going after that hybrid and hook it a bit left of the green. This is a tough spot to get up and down from, and I'm okay with the chip here. It will leave me inside 10 feet for par. But like the last hole, I get frisky with that putt and leave myself something coming back. And this time I don't get away with it. And that's the first double of the day. Despite the last hole, I'm having a pretty good scoring day by my standards. And usually that means I'm chewing up the par 5s. But today I'm 2 over through 3 of them, and I'm really trying to get one back on the 11th. I'm too focused on that and not focused enough on this shot that I chunk. So suddenly the guy thinking about making birdie goes to trying to 2-putt to preserve par. The long lag putt here isn't great, and I'll have a bit of a slider coming back, and I ultimately miss it. And that's a good reminder for me that I should be less focused on scoring and more focused on playing golf. This is a good shot. And so is this. The 13th is a long, demanding par 4. The green is very hard to hit and hold, and the only place you don't want to miss it is short left in the bunker. And I miss it short left in the bunker. This bunker shot releases to the back of the green, and suddenly I'm praying for a 2-putt bogey. I make it, and let's get out of here. On 14, I hit the first of a few bad drives down the stretch, but fortunately I get away with it. The entrance to this green is extremely narrow, and I'm just trying to feather a wedge in the direction of the front of the green. It's a bit short, but that's better than being left or right. I misjudged the speed of this putt coming through the fringe, but end up playing mini golf because this ball that goes past the hole comes down the slope and ultimately winds up in tap-in distance. Another scuzzy drive here means that this par 5 is going to be playing all of the yardage. I advance the ball down the fairway with the 4-wood and will have about 150 yards in. But this is an approach shot to play conservatively. Anything at this pin will release through the back, so the target is definitely the middle of the green. I'm lucky enough to hit my target today, so I'll have a makeable birdie. Again, a little bit frisky with it, but this time only a foot or two past the hole, and we'll clean up for par. I don't get all of this drive either, but it's in the fairway and finally on a short hole where you can kind of get away with it. I grabbed an extra club for this approach and quite frankly hit it terribly. It pitches short of the green and ends up rolling out to just a few feet. And sometimes the golf gods reward you when you don't deserve it. It's not often I find myself 3 over on the par 5s and 2 under on the par 3s, but here we are. There's nothing framing this green and it's tough to pick a target, but this is an okay leave. I read this putt from below the hole and told myself not to juice it, but then standing over the ball, I convinced myself it was flatter than I thought. I end up rolling my worst lag putt of the day and fail to make the comebacker and have to take bogey. I get a bit more out of my drive on 18, thankfully. This is a tough par 4, where bogey once beat double bogey in a playoff on the PGA Tour. 230 coming in is more than I can usually get out of a 4-wood, but I gave it a huge rip and got it. I wish I could show you how difficult this putt is. It's the toughest green on the course. I almost hole it and am thrilled to close the day with a par. 5 over from the tips equates to a 2 differential. Good enough for my 3rd best ever. Obviously I don't expect to score like this every day, and it didn't look pretty, but let's recap it. I didn't hit the ball long off the tee, averaging only 230 yards, but I kept the ball in play. I also only once made a 4 from inside 100 yards. Sprinkle in a few made birdie putts, and I'm pleased to break 80 on a tough course, or, as I call it, to play good bad golf.